What if I told you that the only thing standing between you and freedom was a light switch? Ever stumbled around in the dark, bumping into walls and the furniture? Because for one, you're afraid of what you might see in the mirror. Or two, you know that the moment you turn the light on, it's going to sting. We do the same thing in life. We avoid turning on the light because we're afraid of what we might see. But here's the question. What if the reflection isn't as broken or ugly as we think it is? What if the mirror we've been looking into has been lying to us all along? Today, we're tackling the big topic of why do we hide and avoid? So cozy up and come on in. Life's a wild ride, but you don't have to go it alone. Let's talk about real life, real faith, and real growth. If you're looking for answers to some of life's biggest questions, encouragement, wisdom, or a reminder that you're not by yourself, you belong here. Grab your coffee, hit that subscribe button, and let's go. I am the world's worst about not turning on the light. I get up in the middle of the night or early before the sun comes up. The house is black. There's no lights on. And I will not turn that light on because I know the moment that I do, it's going to sting my eyes. Now, if I would turn the light on, I could actually see better, see where I'm going, have better direction, but I'm just not going to do it. I will just stumble around bumping into things, hoping that my eyes will adjust enough for me to get through the maze of my house to do what I'm going to do. We do that in life so much in just our relationships and work and goals and to ourselves. If we would just turn the light on, it might sting just a second, but then we can absolutely see more clearly. I have a quote for you. It's by Sharon Salzberg, and it really puts things in perspective. It's never too late to turn on the light. Your ability to break an unhealthy habit or turn off an old tape doesn't depend on how long it's been playing. A shift in perspective doesn't depend on how long you've held on to the old view. When you flip the switch in that attic, it doesn't matter whether it's been dark for 10 minutes, 10 years, or 10 decades. The light still illuminates the room and banishes the murkiness, letting you see the things you couldn't see before. It's never too late to take a moment to look. We avoid turning on the light in our life the same way we avoid turning it on in our house. We avoid truth. We avoid confrontation. We don't want to hurt people's feelings. We don't want to feel bad about ourselves either. Sometimes we have to have hard conversations and we avoid them just because we think that we love that person enough to not want to hurt them or hurt their feelings. But I challenge you to think about, actually, I'm afraid of how it's going to hurt me. I can be the world's worst about avoiding confrontation. A lot of us can. I know you can probably relate. I don't want to hurt the person's feelings. I genuinely don't. But at the same time, I don't want to feel uncomfortable. And I'm afraid of the pain and the uncomfortableness that it's going to cause me as well, because I just don't want to be put in that position. And I know you can probably relate to that. And if you think for a moment, you could probably agree with what I'm saying. We stay in this familiar darkness because of fear of pain. What we have to realize is that the light itself isn't what's painful. It's the adjustment to it. When you first flip that switch on, say you have to get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and you first flip that switch on, it stings. But it's not the light that's actually hurting your eyes. The light is the same any other time. It's the same during the day. It's the same during the afternoon. The light is the light. But what causes the sting is our adjustment to it. We've been so used to either sleeping, having our eyes closed, or we've been sitting in the dark. And how many times have you come out of a movie theater and it kind of stings your eyes a little bit to come back into reality, especially if you go to a matinee and it's so dark in there and the theater's dark and the only light is coming from the screen, and then the movie goes down and The whole theater is dark. You have enough light to get you out without tripping, but it's not well lit. It's not well illuminated, right? Then you go outside and it's the middle of the afternoon and the sun is shining bright and it kind of hurts a little bit. And you're looking around like, oh man, where's my sunglasses? It's the light. The light is the same though. It's not the light that actually hurts. It's our adjustment to it. Similarly, truth isn't inherently painful, but examining painful things that it reveals can be. And when I talk about light, I'm using a metaphor here for truth. We have this physical, tangible thing that we can relate to, but it's also how we look at truth. When we are brave enough to face truth, it can be painful. That's why we avoid it. We don't want to have hard conversations. We don't want to take an inward look at ourselves. We don't want to do any kind of self-examination because it's going to hurt. And so we avoid. But here's the payoff of actually being brave enough to turn the light on is because after the initial sting, you can actually see more clearly. And if you linger in the light, if you linger in the truth, we begin to see and can walk in complete freedom. Just like your eyes have to adjust, your heart does too. And the longer we stay in the light, the longer and easier it becomes for our heart to adjust to the truth it's facing. Clarity brings comfort. We stay in the darkness because it's familiar, and there's comfort in the familiarity. But it's a lie because reality is what's familiar is keeping us bound, is keeping us broken, is keeping us from reaching our full potential. And we think that is comfortable when reality is freedom is what brings comfort. And the only way to have freedom is to be brave enough to flip the switch. Another reason why we don't want to flip the switch is because we don't want to look at what's in the mirror. I don't know if you're like me, but I didn't wake up looking like this. I wake up disheveled. My hair is an absolute mess. It's usually tangled. I have crease marks on my face where I've been laying on the pillow. I have groggy eyes. Sometimes they're a little swollen because, sometimes I don't always sleep that great. So when I'm having those kind of nights, my eyes tend to swell. And when I flip the switch on, the light switch, and I'm looking in the mirror, I've got this groggy, messy, imperfect reflection looking back at me. And a lot of times I don't like what I see. You probably can relate. When you first get up in the morning and you go look in the mirror, I would dare to say that you don't think that's your best self. It's the same thing with self-reflection. We don't want to look at ourselves. Well, let me just talk to you from my own personal perspective here. I don't like looking at myself because I already know where I'm failing. I don't need to look into a mirror to know how I'm not doing things as well as I should be or could be. I don't need to examine myself to know where my failures are. I know that I should pray more, study the Bible more, be kinder. There's the list could go on and on and on. I know where I'm failing. I don't need someone to remind me of that. And you probably can relate. You know where you're failing. You definitely don't need someone to remind you of where you're failing, right? And this is why we avoid looking. We avoid looking. We avoid confrontation. We avoid growth. We avoid mentorship. We avoid the things that will help us and propel us into our destiny, because that would mean I would have to change some things. I would have to change my perspective. I would have to change my habits. And that would have to for me to change those things, that means I would have to admit that I'm failing in those things. I already know I'm failing in those things. Why do you want me to admit it? Right? Can you relate? What if I told you that the reflection that you've been looking at has been a lie? Now, imagine with me, if you will. Have you ever been to a carnival or a county fair or anything like that where they have the fun house mirrors? Ever been in one of those? Sometimes you walk into these mirrors and they've got you like really long and tall and skinny and weird looking, and then they've got you really short and dumpy and you just look all distorted, right? When you look in those mirrors, you can see some things about yourself that you recognize, like your eye color, your hair color. There's some features about your face or your body that seem familiar. But on the whole, it is not you. Like you have this big, elongated face, or you have these short little T-Rex arms, or whatever. Like, you know that what you're looking at, that's not how you really look. That's not how you actually look. You know you're looking into a funhouse mirror. So you can look into this mirror and laugh at it because you know it's a lie. Right? That's the key. We can laugh at things that we know is a lie because we know they're a lie. And we can have fun with it. But our problem is that we don't believe it's a lie. We believe it's the truth about us. We get up every morning and look in that funhouse mirror and think, oh, that's who I really am. I'm too short. I'm too tall. I'm too skinny. I'm too fat. I'm too young. I'm too old. Pick your poison. It's still a funhouse mirror. I'm going to challenge you to look into a different mirror. Hey, I really hope you're enjoying today's episode. This is the part of the podcast where if you're getting value out of the content, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Also, like it and share it with a friend. It really helps us get the word out. Thanks so much for your support. And now back to the show. First of all, let's talk about what the cost of avoidance is. Avoidance doesn't make the situation go away. I can avoid needing to take better care of my health, right? Knowing, okay, I need to take better care of my health. I need to, take vitamins and supplements and this and that and the other. I need to exercise more. I need to eat cleaner. And I know these things and I can avoid it, but avoiding it doesn't make my health situation go away. Say you have diabetes, right? Avoiding taking your insulin doesn't change that you have diabetes, right? Same thing with relationships. I'm avoiding a tough conversation with someone, but it doesn't make the tension go away. It doesn't make the situation that's present disappear. So we avoid because we don't want to experience the pain, but we're actually creating more pain because we're avoiding it. And what it's doing is it's just keeping it hanging out there. Avoidance keeps us in bondage. If I'm never free to have the conversations I need, or if I'm never free to be my authentic self, then I am in this bondage of trying to be someone else. I'm in this bondage of my health not being in its optimal performance. I'm in this bondage of my career not going where it needs to go. I'm in this bondage of pick your poison. Avoidance keeps us in bondage, and it builds walls in our relationships. In our attempt to avoid further hurt or pain, we build these walls around ourselves to protect ourselves. And I will tell you, I was a master at it for most of my life. My philosophy was, if I don't let people in, they can't hurt me. And so for years, I never let anyone get to my heart. I even in middle school and high school, I remember having casual friendships and having casual dating relationships, but never letting anyone touch my heart. I kept that wall pretty tight Because if I ever let anyone in, my belief was they will hurt me. Here's a little hard truth. They probably will. Because people are people, and people do things that hurt us. They don't do it intentionally. They're operating out of their own hurt and fear and pain and their own avoidance. And in doing so, it hurts us. People will hurt you. But you can't live in fear of people hurting you and never have a relationship and never let anyone into your heart. I used to listen to this song, and I hated it. Man, did I hate this song. It was Garth Brooks, The Dance. This song, its lyrics were, I could have missed the pain, but I would have had to have missed the dance. And my philosophy was, who needs to dance? I don't want to dance. I don't want to dance if dancing means that it's going to hurt me in some way. I would just assume sit on the sidelines and people watch and watch everybody else dance and watch them trip and fall and go on about my life, and I'm safe and protected. Now that I'm a little older, yeah, okay, all right, I'm a lot older, I realize that the dance can be fun. Life can be fun. It can be meaningful. You know, I was brave enough at some point to open my heart to my husband. And now I have a marriage that I love. I have children, and I even have grandchildren. If I'd have never been willing to open my heart to him, I never would have had any of that. And you can't put a price on that. So we have to realize that we have these walls in our life that we've built around ourselves to protect us in our relationships. And I'm not saying be frivolous and just give your heart to anybody. There's wisdom in who you should give your heart to or open your heart to. But step out of the fear of ever opening up to anyone. When we avoid, it also reinforces this inner dialogue that I'm not good enough or that I'm simply not enough. And that is a killer. It's a cancer that eats away at us. And it affects everything that we do. It affects everything we touch. If our core belief is that I'm not enough, then we will stay broken. We will stay in bondage. We'll never reach our full potential. We'll never reach our destiny. And we'll never live in freedom. Freedom that Jesus came to give us. And it's really a very sad, depressing state. Avoidance and feeling that I'm not enough, that also reinforces anxiety and depression. And we are not supposed to live like that. We're supposed to live in a state of freedom. We're supposed to live in a state of life. I want to read to you 1 Corinthians 13:12. It says, "For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I will know fully, just as I have also been fully known." Here, Paul is saying that our current self-understanding is flawed. The goal is to see ourselves clearly, meaning to see ourselves as God sees us. I also want to read 2 Corinthians 5:17. It says, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creature. The old things passed away. Behold, new things have come." We are brand new. We are brand new. Are we perfect in everything that we do? Of course not. But that is not who we are. Our shortcomings and our failures does not define us. That's not who we are. That's not who God says we are. He says that we are a new creature. He also says that we're wonderfully made. Psalm 139, 13-14 says, "For you formed my inward parts. You wove me in my mother's womb. I will give thanks to you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made." We are made new. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. We don't have to be afraid of the reflection. So how do we break out of the cycle of avoidance? Well, I'm going to challenge you this week to turn on the light and start looking deliberately. I once told someone that the only way this is going to happen is if I get up and make it happen. We were trying to schedule let's get together sometime. And then we never get together and a month goes by. Hey, let's get together sometime. And another month goes by. And finally I was like, you know what? If we want to get together, let's pull out our calendars and pick a day and a time and let's make an appointment. That way I'm being intentional and it'll actually get done then. So we did. We pulled out our calendars, we put a date and time and made an appointment, and we actually made it. We made it to that appointment time and we actually got to spend time together. And it took intentionality. It took doing things deliberately. To break out of this bondage and this cycle of avoidance means that we have to be intentional and to do it on purpose. So let me ask you, what is an area of your life that you have been avoiding turning on the light? Is it having a difficult conversation with someone? Is it a personal goal that you have? I want to challenge you to think about that and either write it in the comments below or journal it for yourself. What distorted image of yourself have you accepted as real? What distorted image of yourself have you accepted as your reality? Now I have some questions for you to either journal, or if you feel free and want to, you can share it below and we can have a conversation about it. But I want to challenge you here to spend some time to think about this. This is how you break the cycle. You do it deliberately, on purpose. What happens when you turn on the light? Ask yourself these questions. What happens when I turn on the light in my thinking? What happens when I turn on the light in my habits? What happens when I turn on the light in my relationships? I want to challenge you to be brave. Flip that switch and remember that the initial sting is only temporary. Clarity and freedom is on the other side. I want to read you one more verse, John 8:32, and it says, "And you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free." When you're willing to face the truth, it's the truth that sets you free. One of my favorite quotes actually comes from a TV show, from a fictional character, but it was so profound. I went and wrote it down, and I use it all the time. Truth is a battle of perception. People only see what they're willing to confront. Are you willing to confront areas that you avoid? Are you willing to confront the lie of the funhouse mirror? Are you willing to confront? I'm not saying that you need to confront your failures. No, we're not doing any kind of self-deprecating soul bashing here. But are you willing to confront some lies that you've been believing about yourself, about others, so that you can then get the truth and clarity, flipping that switch and realizing, hey, you know what? I've actually been avoiding this conversation with this person, and it's really important, and I need to have it, but I don't know how. Let me just give you an example. Well, I don't know if it's an example, but do it in love. Do it in love. Take some time. If it's that kind of situation specifically, and you need to have a hard conversation with someone, go write it down. Write it down on a piece of paper and then read it, sit on it for a day, Go back, read it again, rewrite it, edit it, do whatever, make it so that what you have to say comes across as, this is important to me, but it also comes out of love. If you take the time to really mull over what it is that you're needing to say, it comes across more powerfully, more impactfully, and comes out of love. So today, I want to challenge you to choose honesty over avoidance. Get uncomfortable temporarily for the sake of clarity and freedom. Open your heart to yourself and to others, and dare to see your true reflection in the light. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you got value out of today's episode, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.